So today we're going to be exploring the ruins of this old mill here in Georgetown, Ontario, and the dynamo 3 kilometers downstream that powered it. So let's cross over the river and take a look. The family that built it was the Barber family, and they had 4 sons. They came to Canada in 1822 and they settled around the Dundas area, Dundas, Ontario area, and they moved to Georgetown in 1837. Started a woolen mill at this location, and then in about 1850 they switched it to a paper mill. The business did really well and they expanded this location, making high quality newsprint and wallpaper. In 1888 they needed more power, since this little dam here could only give them 15 feet high of water power behind it. So it wasn't enough to power their mill, and they were only using water wheels and steam power. No electricity in this plant. So they decided to build a dynamo about 3 kilometers downstream of here, because they found a location where they could build up 22 feet high of water behind the dam. So this is the first time that hydroelectric power was used in Canada and possibly North America to drive the wheels of a manufacturing plant. And to transmit power 3 kilometers at that time, in 1888, was unheard of. Wow, it's really decayed a lot since I've been here last. Don't know where this goes. So the floor is collapsing there. I'm not gonna walk that way. It's like an old loading ramp or something where they probably unloaded the paper. And I'm going to try to get up into that building. Yeah. Now here's a very old building straight ahead here. So this little building here is one of the oldest buildings on the property. This is in the original pictures. And it looks like this is where they were bringing in their 3-phase power. Just look up there, you can see the input when they switched to electricity, they probably had a transformer in here. Here are some of the remnants of the boilers and the steam turbines. There used to be more remains here, but this is from the steam turbine, it looks like. Here's a boiler. Boy, I'd really like to know what the purpose of that ramp was. It looks like it was a conveyor belt, actually. So I think what it was is that's where they brought the power in this area here. And that's where the water wheels and the turbines were. And this was, I don't know anything about paper making, but I think they were beating the paper here, getting it ready for manufacture. So then when it was ready, I think they pulled something up that ramp and moved it to the next stage. This was like the input side of the plant. The other side was the output side. Very interesting. There's pure ice in here. Gotta be careful. Nothing back there. I think this just goes to the, yes, here's the loading dock we were looking at earlier. And in here is some other kind of step they were doing. Looks like this floor is collapsing here. Yep. Nothing really up here. Looks like they must have had long rolls of paper being rolled up here at the final stage. Can't really see too much. Looks like nothing. It's another hopper or a boiler or something. Piece of machinery down there. Yeah. Don't get too close. It's kind of icy. So coming out of the mill here, you can see where the administrative buildings might have been, where they did all the paperwork and everything. And actually, where we're standing right now is actually where the river used to come through before the electricity was set up in the plant here. That building at the end wasn't there, so they diverted the Credit River. It used to come straight through here. And this is actually where they built up to 15 feet of water, because we're quite a bit higher than the Credit River right now. But they could only get 15 feet, so that's why they decided to go downstream, because they could get 22 feet. So right about here was where all the generating equipment was, like water and steam power. But no electricity yet, so they needed more power. And they could get 100 horsepower downstream. There's the old steam turbine exhaust stack there. That long tube there was connected to the top of the building in which this big boiler was housed. So that's a pretty good tour of the mill. Let's head over to the Barber Dynamo downstream from here, 3 kilometers. I have to cross back over the river and walk on the Bruce Trail on the other side. So let's go take a look. This building's over 180 years old. When this building was put up, the average life expectancy in Canada was 45, 50 years old. And they built this whole building with no power tools, no electricity. Just unbelievable. They really got stuff done in those days. I mean, some guy was with a hammer and chisel chiseling out these corner pieces and stacking them up, and farmers were bringing rocks from around the fields to stack up. It's just unbelievable. No health care, no antibiotics. You are on your own out here. So I'm going to cross over the river on that bridge and go to the other side and head to the Barber Dynamo, where we can check out where they eventually generated the power for this building. So now I'm on the other side of the river, and this is the trail that goes to the Barber Dynamo. It's about 3 kilometers long, and it's part of the Bruce Trail. It's a Bruce Trail side trail. Scenery. So it's pretty amazing when you think this is a trail they used to walk 180 years ago. And if you look right here, you can see the remains of the old road where they brought the equipment down. See, very steep. Really steep to bring all these dynamos and generators and equipment. Now, if you look over there, there it is. There's the dynamo. This raised earth here is part of the whole setup, which I will explain later. Cross over this little bridge. Wow, it's in really crumbled condition since I've last been here. There was much more to it. It's pretty sad. Oh man. So that is the old dynamo built in 1888. So now you can see the whole layout of the place. If the water was lower, you could see the arches at the bottom. Below each one of those windows is an arch where all the water would come out from the race. And whenever these Barber guys did a building, they would carve a letter B in the building somewhere. And on this one, in 1888, he carved a B. Where to go? So here is the inside of the dynamo, and in this bottom level here is where all the water action was happening. And these two water intakes are penstocks, they're called. So it's all sealed up with dirt now. Nothing living in there. But these things, like I said, were known as penstocks, and there's a picture of one here. I'll show you. This one is a little bit bigger than the picture, but the same deal. The way this thing works is when the water came out, there was two giant water turbines here of 4 feet in diameter, and they spun like this. There was a 2-foot reducer, and then the water would go down, exit, and come out those two raceways there. So this thing's spinning around like here, and there was a 4-inch shaft going up through the floor, and there was a 90-degree bevel gear which went through this archway here. And then there was a smaller generator which fed off of that one, and it was 60 horsepower. This one here was 100 horsepower. They controlled the RPM with a series of levers on the second floor, which would adjust the angle of the fins. So this section here was a little square building that was attached to the side of it, and it was known as the powerhouse. And right here, you can see the old bolts was the main generator. It's bolted right into concrete, rocks, big foundation there. And there was two archways. One for the shaft of the dynamo to go in, and the other one, I guess, was just to walk around to do maintenance and adjust things. The dynamo was about 9 feet tall, and it weighed a couple of tons, so it was very heavy. The smaller one was inside, mounted on the floor there. Now, it was 3 floors, so up here was the start of the 3rd floor, and it was level with the top of the dam. You can see the dam here. That was made out of mud. The part that goes over the river was made out of 18-inch logs, and it was bundled into triangles and filled with rocks on the inside, and it was about 24 feet high. So they could get a lot of power out of here. So they're getting about 100 horsepower. Now, if you're interested in the specifics of the generator, it was spinning at 500 RPM. It has 32 armature windings on it, 4 commutators, and it produced about 2,000 volts, which is what they needed. They only needed 60 horsepower extra for the motor down at the mill, but because of the huge voltage drop for that distance transmitting DC, they had to step it up to 2,000 volts, and to get 60 horsepower they needed 100 horsepower generated here. So there you can see the mound of dirt on the other side of the river where the dam would have gone across. Now over here was the other side, but this is just all made out of mud. And they had a little bit of a control over the water in an emergency, that they had some boards that they could slide in and out in this little dip here. There's something, you know, if there was a flood or something and they needed to release like massive amounts of water here, could take some boards out and then it would go out there. You know, here's the intake. This is where the intake was. You can see the water used to come in through here, and there was 2 grates they had, so you could take one out at a time and clean all the debris out. Look at that steep incline. They took that machinery down. Hope you liked the video. Something a little different this time. And if you enjoyed it, please give me a like.